Hi, Mark here from the Tangibound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangibound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangibound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangiboundNetwork.com and see if Tangibound Network is right for you.
This is a Danger Entertainment podcast. DangerEntertainment.net. Danger Entertainment Podcast Network.
And welcome to the Pittsburgh Nerd Podcast. I'm Sean.
And I'm Ian.
Hey, Ian.
Yeah.
Did you know you could find us on the Danger Entertainment Network?
Danger.
Danger Entertainment. That's right.
Sounds dangerous.
It is. It's a tad bit dangerous. You'd be shocked to find that out. You know, there's a bunch of great podcasts you can find there. Our friends from the History of Bad Ideas podcast, Who to What Now, Besotted Geek. No, they retired. That's right. They retired. But there are a bunch of other great podcasts you can find there, along with us. You know, we're the Pittsburgh Nerd Podcast, and we do pop culture and chili cheese dogs and whatever else floats our fancy.
Yeah.
Check us out.
For sure.
For sure. We're on most podcatchers, so give us a look.
Peace.
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast. And or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out and try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time. Stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to The Crazy Life, everybody. My name's Jen, and I am your hostess for the evening. And with me, as always, are my fabulous co-hosts. We have Brian and Henno. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
With all of the excitement, which actually was higher this week than it has been in the last few times. So I will give you guys props for ramping it up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was it. That's all I had for the whole show. So it's just, yeah. It's all downhill now.
Yeah, I'm spent.
Yeah.
Well, who would like to start us off this week? 'Cause I know you're thinking to make sure that I was on last week, but I'm pretty sure I was on because I had it, didn't I? I had the article.
I don't remember, honestly. All right, here we go.
Oh, I feel so loved. I don't remember if I was on the show or not.
Well, you know.
Yeah. Yes, you were, because I wrote down a couple of things from the last episode, and organ donation was one of them, and that was something you brought to the table. So
Aha.
you lucked out.
I was here.
Yep. So, all right.
See, Brian and I have nothing but since we did Salty Language last night, and all our entire weeks are all about productivity and just crushing it. So, it all depends on you if you want to go first or last. Just realize that the two of us are bringing the wins.
That's awesome. And I cannot wait to hear about the wins. And I don't really have a whole bunch. So I guess why not? I'll go first.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks. Thanks everybody for listening this week. We're out of time. Yeah.
I guess I will go first. I will tell you guys how my week went, and then I will let you guys completely take control and go to town with all your fabulous wins.
Okay.
So, with that, so this week it was pretty cool. I'm learning some new stuff and at work, which is always good. And everything's pretty much stabilizing, and I'm feeling pretty comfortable as far as my anxieties and everything are concerned, which is awesome. One of the interesting things that did happen was on Friday they had a safety meeting for my group. Mm-hmm. The safety topic the guy chose was depression and mental health.
Okay.
And actually started out with my mother. My father is sick right now. My mother came to tell me that if he goes, that she's going as well.
Oh my! All right then. Oh.
Yeah,
wow.
And yeah, I was gobsmacked, which I think a lot of people in the room were all taken aback. Mm-hmm. And he's like, so my safety topic is, taking care of the mental health of the elderly and your children. He's like, I'm not going to necessarily talk about our age group, because he's like, I think everybody can, try to take care of themselves a little bit on that. But the elderly, our parents, and our children are really being targeted with depression right now, and are really being hit hard with mental health. So it was really interesting to kind of see his slideshow and everything. Quietly sitting in my seat, correcting him on a few things because of how many years we've done the show. And wanting to
silently judging.
Yep.
Too, because I think it's fabulous that he's talking about this, especially in a corporate environment, which is like, kudos to you for having the cojones to do that.
Well, yeah, especially to tell that story. If as long. I don't even want to say that, but it's like, if it's true, but you know what I mean? Like, it's, that's,
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about breaking that fourth wall there, because a lot of times, especially men, don't mix personal life with their work life outside of like sports and, things like that, like innocuous stuff. So the actually getting down to like emotional stuff, that really kind of surprised me. But he did a great job with the whole thing. I will say it did have some trigger points for me. So, and I am trying very hard not to, because I was going to tear. I was tearing up. I'm like, no. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'll be a guy here going baseball. Anything to change my focus. It's like, nope, we're not doing that. So, I did keep myself under control and stuff. My coworkers do know about this podcast, which, I think is awesome. And I, as we walk back to our desks, I did share that. I'm like, it's really interesting because some of this stuff is what we talk about on The Crazy Life.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, that's really cool and stuff. So, so they kind of knew about the show and about how important mental health is to me. So, this particular safety share kind of hit home, which was cool.
Yeah.
And then,
I like the fact that it wasn't just a, like walk in, remember to wear your hat and seatbelt and, type of meeting, like it was about an actual, like a legit topic, especially ones that need attention. So yeah, awesome. That's cool.
It was cool. And he brought up social media and how social media is really wrecking, especially young teen women.
Yeah.
And it's women are being and it's usually woman on woman attacks.
Yeah.
Statistics are showing that women are treating women worse than men treating women and men treating men on the internet and the social media right now.
Yeah.
Which is also really interesting is as I was watching my cartoons, because yes, I do still watch cartoons.
Me too.
I was watching, I think it was Phineas and Ferb, if I'm not mistaken. They actually did a PSA commercial about you can't take it back, I think was their message. And they're talking about social media and posting things on social media, getting that message out to kids that, what you say is permanent when it goes onto the internet.
Right.
So if you have a question about what you're going to say, run it past an adult and see if the adult approves of what you're going to post. Odds kids aren't going to do that.
Well, right. No, I'm laughing because, I mean, the concept is good, but there's a lot of adults that would be like, yeah, that's fine, like that, because they're a bully too, like.
Exactly.
Nah, you tell them, like.
Yeah, her dress really was ugly, wasn't it?
Yeah, right? Yeah. Like, someone needs to tell her. Like, yeah. So.
Oh, I hate that. That's one of my pet peeves is when somebody says something negative and they're like, well, somebody had to say it.
Yeah.
It's like, no. You didn't have to say it.
No, you didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, did it serve any purpose? No. All it did was make you look like a giant jerk.
Yeah.
So... No, it didn't need to be said. Anyways, I digress. But I went up north for a few days. So this weekend, which was absolutely fun and had a great time. I am physically tired as well as a little bit of emotionally tired because I was doing a lot of socializing, which is always fun, but you get that nice little swing back that happens.
Right.
So just kind of recovering a little bit from all of that excitement and all that fun. So, but that has been my week. So who wants to go next?
I will
go for it.
Oh, okay. What?
You're gonna go for it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow! Suddenly we're all volunteering.
I know. Well, that's because we're so productive. I know that we just.
I know. We're jumping right in.
We're doers now.
For some reason, I'm picking up on hints of sarcasm.
No. Listen,
we're totally serious.
Like good.
I started on my week on the show last night, and when I got done, Brian's like, "Well, let me tell you about my week."
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I went through all my T-shirts, my 6 totes of. I should say shirts. They weren't all T-shirts, but. Excuse me. So I've got, one pretty close to full tote to donate. The rest I'm going to try to sell. And I'm going to just give it a little bit of time, like a month or something like that or so. And if they don't sell, then I'm just going to donate them probably. Just to be done with them. If I can get a few bucks out of them before then, that's awesome. And if not, oh well, then a bunch of people can get some cool T-shirts cheap. So,
do have to ask, do you still have the Spider-Man comic book cover
Yep.
shirt?
Yep.
The button up with
Yep.
all the different covers on it?
Sure do.
Oh, that's a great shirt.
I know. That was one of, like I told Heno, I pulled aside a couple of T-shirts. I don't know if you remember it or not, Jen. I had one from The Dark Knight Returns. It's a black and white shirt. It's done Frank Miller style, the way he did, and it's Batman. And I decided to keep that, even though there's zero chance I'll be wearing it anytime soon.
You can frame that sucker.
That's
and
exactly.
still
Yep, that's what I was thinking, because I'm like, I have a lot of empty walls in this room, and it would look really cool hanging up.
That's an amazing shirt.
I might just
yeah.
run a nail through the shirt and just put the shirt on the wall. No. No, I'll just go get a frame and wrap it around a small cardboard or something like that and put it in there. Out of the 6 totes, I set aside 4 shirts to keep. I can't wear any of them, but there's 2 that have like that kind of, because I also have my milk and cheese T-shirt. And
yes.
I can't do much with that because it's pretty yellowed from wearing it over and 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 over.
Milk and cheese. I mean,
Yeah.
where are you going to get another milk and cheese T-shirt?
And it's one of my favorite shirts anyway. So it was interesting because for the most part, like going through the shirts, one side of it that I didn't talk about this on Salty Language. It was kind of cool at different times. Like I'd pull a shirt out and see it, and I'd have a memory that would pop into my head. Like there was a comic called Gen 13 that I had a shirt of, and on the back it's got all the characters. And I remember my commercial art teacher making me turn it inside out because the one character has like a jumpsuit that's pulled down to like her hips. And basically, the artist didn't draw any like underwear lines, basically, and she felt that it was, too far. So I had to go turn it inside out, and I couldn't wear it to class anymore. I pulled that shirt out, and I just kind of had a laugh. I forgot I was going to take a picture of it and send it to Holtz, and be like, "Dude, remember this?" Yeah, because that's how long ago it is. I wore that shirt my sophomore year or junior year. I'm sorry, of high school. So we're talking 95. I've had it that long. But yeah, there were a few shirts where I'd pull that out, or like shirts, like there were some like that one you were just talking about, the Spider-Man shirt with all the covers. I remember, getting that and stuff like that. So, that was kind of a nice little trip there. But, and it was kind of bittersweet though, because I'm like, man, I wish I could wear some of these, like,
right.
But, mostly I was like, geez, I don't remember having this many shirts. But I was always buying. Working in a comic book shop and owning a comic book shop did absolutely nothing for my self-restraint when it came to comic book shirts. So almost all of them I have are comic book related. But I've got a few others that are... I've got a few that are, music shirts, some concert shirts and stuff that I have, and a few that are just, witty sayings or whatever else on them. So, but it was, it was kind of fun going back through them. And, I tried to clean some of them up, and that just wasn't happening and stuff. So there's some, I just threw them out because they're, or I found, or I just found holes in them or whatever it is, it's like, yeah, I'm not donating these because they're like, nobody's going to want to wear these, like if my dad was still around, these would go into a bag in our garage for rags. That's what, and I asked my mom, I said, do you have any need for rags? Because if so, I got like, a bag of shirts here, but she already has some, so we're good. So anyway, yeah, so I got through all that. I washed some of them because, by being in those bins, they were really wrinkled. So I washed them and hung some of them up, dried some of them, to get, so that, first of all, so they smelled better, because it isn't that they smelled bad, but you know how it is. Laundry soap the smell of it only lasts so long. And then the shirts just smell like, I don't know what the word for it is, but you're just like, okay, it's clean, but it doesn't smell like soap. It doesn't smell like what we, know as clean. So yeah, so I got through that, and as soon as I get my camera back, I'm gonna try to sell some of them, and we'll see how that goes. I did some more, got some more stuff boxed up around both rooms too, because I really want to get to where I can move my dresser in the other room, so that I put the chair in there so that way I can sit in there and play my games. But right now I've got all those totes of shirts in the way, so I need those out of the, all I need to do is like pull them out of the room, move the dresser, and then I can just put the totes over where the dresser was. But on the flip side of this, and I didn't mention this on Salty Language, because it's more like for this show, I think, is, well, two things. One is Friday night I was supposed to record Salty Language with Tony, and I woke up and I had a sinus headache, and it was just a bad mental day for me. It was one of those days, it was a wake up, go, and just, nope, and just turn right back over, basically. And, I was talking with Tony Friday he asked me if we could do it Saturday. That's what it was. And then Saturday was the day I was feeling that way. So, Tony mentioned, about seeing if Heno could do it. So, that's how Heno ended up on, doing it with me on Sunday. So, because Tony couldn't, because he had other stuff going on. But, I was like, man, it was just from minute one of waking up, I was just like, nope. Like, it is not happening today. And I honestly think what it was I think it was the pendulum swinging back from the productivity days, because I had basically been doing, and my body was like, yeah, no more. Like, we're done with this. And even yesterday, I woke up and I was still kind of, like I did the podcast, and that's about all I did yesterday. I didn't do much else. So, and it also hasn't helped, we got rain scheduled almost every day through next weekend, I think it is. Oof. Yeah. I mean, there's at least a 20 or so percent chance and higher of rain almost every day. So, yeah, that's going to be a fun week for my sinuses. But my win for the week actually was that I did something that I haven't done in so long. And that's I was dinking around in the Magic Arena game on my computer, and they've got right now, like, if you play in certain events, you unlock certain, like, they call them card frames, basically, but it's like certain characters, they released cards of them with, like, the background, or it's done in, like, a stained glass style, and they're really cool looking. And if you play in the events, you unlock those cards, or that type. So I was like, oh, well, I want those. And I sat down and I played probably, I don't know, 8-10 games. And when I'm playing in that, I'm playing against an actual person. Like, you're not playing against the AI. And I haven't actually played against a person in a long time. And that was, kind of cool. So, unfortunately, I lost most of the games.
That is cool, because, it's definitely a different feeling when you're playing against a person versus playing against AI.
Yeah, it is really weird, though, too, because there was one game I was playing that I'm looking at the board, and I'm like, this person's got me. All they have to do is attack with all of their creatures, and I lose. I cannot block all of them. Like, game over, right? Now, if we were playing in person, I would do what is called scooping, or conceding, essentially. Basically, just looking at the math going. But then I was like, you know what, though? I might not, because until the person says, I got you, I'm not going to tell them they got me. Right. Now, in a tournament, maybe, because you just screw it and you move to the next game so that you have a shot at the next game. You don't want to run out of time. Well, in this, it was like there's the only time that there is during your turn. You only have so much time, which bit me in the butt a couple of times and kind of makes me angry, because I was in the process of doing stuff. I just had a lot to do in my turn. And I was trying to decide how I wanted to do it. And then once I started doing it, the timer ran out. And right in the middle of, like, I was activating something, boom, it's the opponent's turn. That is not how it would happen in real life. If I'm in the middle of a turn, it goes until I'm done, you know, or unless the round is over, you know. So I was kind of peeved at that a few times because there might be a way to pause the game somehow. I need to look at the shortcut menu to see if there is, because maybe it's my own fault that I didn't pause things while I was, you know, thinking and then, or whatever. I don't know. So, but this person stretched this game out for 12 more turns. And it got to a point that if I had had probably 2 more turns, I think I would have won.
Wow.
Because I just started slowly picking off their stuff. And each turn they weren't really replenishing, and I kept putting stuff on the board. So as I'm picking their stuff off and laying a new creature, I'm gaining 2, you know, well, actually, you know, I'm gaining 2 spots on them. And, you know, and I'm sitting here and I'm just like, why doesn't this dude just attack? Like, at a certain point, it got to where I'm like, well, he can't now because he's only going to get like 3 things through, and I'm going to kill a lot of his stuff. To where basically if he attacks now, I could win. You know? So, and it was like, I don't know if the person didn't do the math or they were trying to stretch it out, because there's things in the games where it's like you get bonuses after you cast so many red spells or black spells. Like maybe they were just trying to ramp that up. I don't know what it was, but I'm sitting there going at a certain point, and I'm like, well, I'm not conceding. Because honestly, this game is swinging my way. You know, it's like, so until they beat me, I'm just going to make them beat me, basically, or I'm going to steal a win here. So eventually they finally figured it out and did a couple of things, and then finally started, you know, hitting me and stuff and won. But it was interesting, like certain plays and stuff that I made and whatever. It felt good to get back into that mindset of challenging my brain of, you know, what's the best play? What should I do here? What order? You know, like really kind of getting back into the groove of playing the game. And there were a few times where I did something and I'm like, oh, you dummy. Why'd you know, I'm rusty. I haven't been playing. So, you know, you miss stuff that you don't miss when you're playing all the time. You know, you don't use it, you lose it, right? You know, so. But anyway, yeah, I played a bunch of games against actual people, and, you know, it was, you know, like I said, it was pretty cool feeling to actually do that, because, like, I've avoided going to tournaments, even though my nephew's got cards I could play, you know, and or pre-releases where you don't need to have any card. You just, you know, when you buy in, you get cards to build your deck with. So, you know, like I said, that was my win for the week, is that I finally, I mean, aside from being productive, that also was a win for the week, of course, but this was a big win for me, because one of the biggest things with depression is that you lose interests in things that you used to love, and also anxiety kept me from playing the game, and I was able to you know, to play not just one game, but to play, like I said, it was either 8 or 10 games I played that night. And the only reason I didn't play anymore is it was getting late, and my brain was kind of getting a little foggy. So, you know, and that's, you know, like any strategy game, you really don't want to be playing it when your brain's not all in it, you know. Not that there was anything at risk. It was, the part I was playing was free, so it was, you know, and the cool part was everybody playing in that event has the same deck. So you can't blame it on, oh, so-and-so spent more money or whatever. It really does come down to, obviously, luck of the draw, you know, and play skill at some point, you know. A couple of the games I won because I just outplayed my opponent. And, you know, those are the games that feel good. Because, although, who knows, maybe this person's terrible and I, you know, but it's still the idea that I was able to do that again felt good, because, you know, I'm not saying I was a great Magic player, but I was, you know, I was pretty decent. So it felt good to kind of feel like I was back in that again. So that's my week.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say it was a win for the week, actually. Like, the week was the win, like...
Yeah.
Pretty
So.
damn solid week.
All right, Heno, bring us down.
Exactly. Well, that's all like mine was too. I had a short work week because I took Thursday off instead of taking today off for Memorial Day, and I got up early, and it wasn't like I was feeling productive or anything. I was actually going to just take a nice relaxing day off, but I ended up getting to work, doing stuff around the house, because that rain that's hitting you for a week has been sitting here for the last week, and I thought it might be clearing up, but it's not. But it's like, so there's no point in me doing any yard work, and my mom had when we went down shopping down Twin Falls, we bought all these shelves and stuff. So I was like, well, I might as well start, might as well just do this. And what I did that was different is, rather than trying to take everything on all at once, I just kind of nipped at it a little here, a little there, and allowed myself to get inspired by it rather than try to make some giant plan to accomplish it all.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, like with I ended up doing these shelves by the back door, and everything's nice and organized and looks nice. And then where my desk used to be, my computer, I ended up painting an entire wall. And there's still stuff lying around. Like, one thing is just my piles of clutter. I'm like, okay, let's start getting into these. And then it's like, okay, well, where am I going to put this stuff? It's like, okay, well, let's go over here. So the next thing you know, I'm in a bookshelf, and I'm literally clearing out books, and I'm boxing up books to take to either the secondhand store or wherever. And then at one point I had this old t-shirt that I just threw on the bed, and it was just there to remind me to go through my t-shirts over the weekend. And at one point I'm like, I think I'm going to go there. And it's not like things were finished yet in the other room, but it was just kind of nice to just take on something, knock some stuff out, the best, I have to say this, the best was just throwing stuff away.
Yeah, I couldn't get over how good it actually felt to me to throw
good.
stuff away. Yeah. I never thought I would,
because Sharon does it.
Because I've got, like I said, obviously I've got 6 bins of t-shirts, so clearly throwing away shirts is an issue for me, So when I got to where I was just looking at being like, I'm not donating this because the way I look at it, honestly, is like I look at the shirt and be like, I'm not donating this because it's in terrible shape, and I feel like an asshole if I'm trying to like, oh yeah, here, you deal with it, Excuse my language.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like, for me, it was all like, if it was something that I would wear for painting,
right? Yeah,
it's going in the garbage.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why I said it would have been rags. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, like Sharon, like, she seriously will just throw stuff away. That's why she doesn't want to get into any of my stuff, because she doesn't know what's what.
Yeah.
What's good and what's not. But I really was surprised at how much that felt good. But the thing was just getting myself a little more organized and knowing that it's not just for me, it's also for the household.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to make everybody happier.
Yeah.
And so it really felt good to, like, I typically do a lot of yard work at this time of year, doing, lawn seeding or putting out wildflowers or, whatever needs to be done outside, that kind of thing. And then I tend to ignore the inside of the house. And it was kind of nice to flip that a little bit and just let it's still cold enough at night. Like, I haven't mowed my lawn in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And it's just like, tomorrow I should probably do it, because even though it's been raining, it's been in the 30s at night. So
okay.
The grass is still stunted. It's just a weird.
Yeah.
Everything's just really weird right now.
That's been one of the problems with us with the rain we've had, is it's been just warm enough that the grass is growing like crazy here. And like where I live, we can get write-ups essentially if the grass gets too tall. So we've got to like pick and choose, like, okay, it's going to be okay for like 2 hours. Let's get it done, basically,
Yeah. So that was like, and then the other part was music. I mixed our live show that we did in April, and I haven't really done a whole lot of music stuff, just little bits in here and there. But I sat down and again, it was like, I didn't try to do it all at once. I did, most of it on one night and then the rest of it the next day. And I mixed like 20 songs, and got them uploaded for the band. And that just felt good to, like, I forget that it feels good to go into the week like ready for it.
Yeah.
And when I mean ready for it, meaning that I don't have the clutter of what I was hoping to do over the weekend still back there,
Yeah.
nagging at me saying you didn't do anything.
Right. I was going to say, could you look, you're going into the next week and you go, I got some room, meaning like on your shoulders, your schedule, however you want to look at it, because it's like, since I got stuff done, I've got a little bit of room I can take things on. Whereas I think most of the time when we're going into a new week or whatever, it's a lot of us are like, looking at a to-do list with a million things on it. And like, I can't take on anything else. Like, I just can't. And, life's going to laugh at you and go, here's 30 more things. So.
Yeah. And then I realized that my lazy is as addicting as being productive.
Yeah.
Because what I'm finding is, it's just habits. Like even this morning when I got up, I took care of some more things. I went down in my basement. There's a couple things that have been just lying there that, in case I needed them. Enough time's gone by, I don't need them. So, they went with me to work today and ended up in the dumpster. And those are little, even when I got home today, I took time out to do what I usually do after work and relax. But there was this point where I'm like, oh, yeah, but, you can get up and do this. And that was a really nice feeling to have that feeling of like, of not dismissing, not pushing away, which it's just, like I said, it's just another habit. And it feels good to swing onto the other side of those habits. Because they ultimately do make me feel better. And I went to the gym the last 2 days, and I'm going to be hating life tomorrow. But it was like I haven't been there in a month because of not feeling well, and so it just felt really good. It was a really good week to have. And Sharon was out of town too, which is kind of one of those things where, that's the opportunity to leave the toilet seat up and just do nothing with my boys, but. Which is what I tend to do a lot of, and I didn't. I was like, no, I'm getting at it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it.
Sounds like a great week. You guys really rocked it this week.
Yeah.
It's somebody was start talking about t-shirts.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, let's see, Brian, you have our article for the week, right?
Yep. I gotta pull it back up though. Here we go. It's from ideas.ted.com, which is a good site with a whole bunch of different articles about life. They have things that tech, business, arts and design, science, and then we humans is the other category they show. But this one is called Why We Should Say No to Positivity and Yes to Our Negative Emotions. Says it sounds paradoxical, but accepting our negative emotions can actually make us happier in the long run. Psychologist Susan David explains how. Where is it? Shoot. Most of us have been told to cheer up or look on the bright side by well-meaning family and friends. Sometimes it's because they see us looking sad, angry, anxious, or frustrated, but it can also happen because we look pensive, uncertain, or just about any state other than joyful. While we may be tempted to tell them, stuff it, we don't because, well, feelings.
I like that.
Yeah.
Those feelings.
Yeah. Because it is true. Because, essentially this is the, it could be worse. Just smile. It's all that kind of stuff. So
could be better, too.
Yeah, exactly. Or again, just because it could be worse does not mean that what is happening doesn't suck. You know, and people need to remember that.
Mm-hmm.
It says, next time, feel free to do so, meaning tell them to stuff it. And
That's great.
It says, but please be polite. Being positive has become a new form of moral correctness, says psychologist Susan David, founder and co-director of the Institute of Coaching at McLean Hospital of Harvard University Medical School, and every other word in the English language, apparently. An instructor in psychology at Harvard and author of Emotional Agility. Jeez.
Fit that on a business card.
Good gravy. Yeah, seriously. Like, oh, here's my card, and it's just a whole sheet of notebook paper. She says, suppressing or turning away from our difficult emotions is not healthy or helpful. What happens is it undermines our ability to deal with the world as it is, not as we wish it to be, she says. This is associated with lower levels of resilience, lower levels of well-being, and higher levels of depression and anxiety. and it also impacts our relationships and our ability to achieve our goals. So what should we do instead? Instead of pushing it aside or forcing positivity, one critical way of dealing with a difficult emotion is to label it effectively. In my work, so often people will use very black and white labels to describe how they're feeling, says David. Stressed is one of the most common ones, but there's a world of difference between the stress of true overwhelm, stress because you're disappointed, or the stress of knowing you're in the wrong job or wrong relationship. When we can label our emotions more accurately, it helps us understand the cause of those emotions and activates what's called a readiness potential, your ability to set goals and make real concrete changes. This is next, when you identify your emotion, notice the emotion with compassion. People frequently think that compassion is about being weak or lazy or lying to yourself, says David. Actually, compassion allows you to create a safe space within yourself in which you are able to take more risks. You're able to explore the world, and you're able to be more effective, because you know that if things don't go right, that you will still like yourself. You'll still be kind to yourself. Compassion is associated with greater levels of effectiveness.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's the one where when I think back on changes that I've made in my life in the last 10 years was actually starting to apply that, with emotions.
Yeah.
Is to really it's such a anytime that you use either a substance or a behavior or something to hide how you feel, and that's part of alcoholism or any other sort of addiction, any addictive behavior, gambling or whatever it is typically, because of an emotional issue, was, that when you no longer have that crutch, how do you deal with emotions? What do you do with them?
Yeah.
How do you learn? That was the most baffling thing when it, it's still like, okay, I still have these. How do I deal with them in a way that's because I still couldn't come up with a way to find a positive way to handle a negative emotion.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what they're talking about here and that's where I finally learned was to accept, learn about what it is, to realize that it's a natural thing that's part of being human, and to give myself the space to feel it.
Yeah, it's it's tough. Like, I think the stuff I've read here already, like for me, the toughest part was the identifying what type of, like the stress example, like, oh, I'm disappointed. Well, why are you disappointed? Are you disappointed because you didn't get the job? You're disappointed because you didn't get a job. You're disappointed because you feel you're a failure. You know what I mean? Like being able to break things down to where you can actually find the root cause of the disappointment was something that took me a while. And it's something that's, like, I think it's like I'm still working on, and I feel like it's something you kind of have to work on maybe forever, because not every scenario is the same, so you can't apply a template across every scenario, and but it helps because the way you react to certain things is different than you would react to, like you were saying, Heno, to find your positive way to react to a negative, like Jen has pointed out, like when she's gone after a job and she didn't get it, she's disappointed, and it's like, but once you figure out why you were disappointed, then you can start going, okay, well, here's how I can learn from this or grow from this or move on or whatever it is. And, I think it makes the process easier than just wallowing in the stress or the disappointment or whatever, because you're not really trying to find a cause so that you can find the solution.
Well, breaking down anything and putting it in more quote-unquote logical or scientific terms, like, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? If you can do 5 whys and really break it down and understand the feelings, it makes a huge difference. Like I've told my friend before, and I've mentioned on the show before, it's, she was experiencing some heartache. And I said, is it your heart hurting or is your ego hurting? And
Yeah.
Good question.
when she really stopped and thought about it, she's like, it's more my ego.
That's
I'm
it.
like, and that's okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. But understanding where that pain is coming from and where it initiated, it helps to, then you can actually put it in perspective and actually look at it in the correct context. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, this makes sense, versus sitting there in it and being confused by it and not understanding it or burying it and not dealing with it. So.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Because that separation that you actually pointed out there, that's two completely different roads as far as the road to recovery at that point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Also, the level of hurt can be, it's funny because our egos tend to get hurt by a lot more than I think most people give it credit for.
We lead egos a lot.
Oh, yeah.
We put our egos out there quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. And, after a relationship ends or something like that, it's like, ego was always easier for me to heal. So like you said, if you realize that it's, your heart hurting or however you want to word that then it becomes, then you can go, okay, well, I think with ego, I've had more of a tendency to kick myself in the butt to move it forward, basically, like, okay, come on, you'll be fine, type of thing. And with relationships, it's like, okay, you know what, I gotta let myself hurt for a little bit here, and then I'll kick myself in the butt, so. Yeah. Being able to identify the difference can make a difference on the recovery. So, excuse me. And it says, finally, try to notice the emotional story for what it is. Create some space between you and what you're feeling by acting as an observer and naming all the dimensions of your experience. Instead of simply saying, I'm sad, she suggests, say something like, I'm noticing that I'm feeling sad. I'm noticing that I'm feeling undermined. I'm noticing the urge to leave the room. This allows you to bring other parts of yourself, such as your values and your intentions, forward. Doing this also puts you in charge rather than the emotion. What's more important is not whether you have negative thoughts or emotions, but whether you get hooked into them, she says, which is when those thoughts start to drive your behaviors and your interactions. Which, that makes sense. That's when you start, you allow distorted thinking to take over and start, driving all willy-nilly all over the road. So...
Not unlike cleaning your room, and like you went through your t-shirts and, and Henna was organizing this week. You can do the same thing for your emotions and your brain.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta go through spring cleaning and, and unbox some of those boxes that need to be addressed and toss out the stuff that doesn't fit into what you're dealing with in the world and move past that stuff. And then take your time and cherish the thoughts and the feelings that you need to go through. It's just like anything. It's so important to keep yourself organized. And the more organized you can be and understanding where you're at and what you're feeling and why you're feeling it, the happier and more positive in the end you're going to get.
Or at least, you can find, contentment easier that way because you're not running, you're not letting the negativity run your life. You've found ways to embrace it, deal with it, overcome it depending on the scenario, all that kind of stuff. So it's I like this way of thinking on it because it is really, if you're just constantly saying yes to, I'm just going to be positive and all this, it's like I think a lot of us have a tendency of because we're trying to constantly look on the bright side or this or that. It's like we don't fully embrace and discover what it is that's making us unhappy, or whatever the, unhappy or in the scenario, or whatever it ends up being, hurt, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it leads us to repeating our mistake, or repeating the process, not necessarily mistake, but, I think you kind of find yourself back at that point again because you didn't really resolve it.
Yeah. You got to get, and that's another key thing. You got to find a resolution that you can be happy with.
Yeah.
Once you've found your resolution, are you ready to move past it, or do you have to kind of live with it for a little bit longer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier about the, the ego versus the heart thing is that's why that makes a big difference there, And same with a lot of other stuff. You'll find that a lot of times you may think it's one thing, but then when you kind of dig into it, you realize that maybe it's not that maybe it's something else, or a combination of things or whatever.
This is true. One thing for sure, it's never the easy way, usually.
Yeah, usually not.
Nah, not usually.
Yeah.
But, that was a pretty good article, because that was the end, right?
Yeah, the woman, what was her name? Susan Todd, I think's her name.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Susan David. Her TED Talk is actually right underneath this article, so the link to it will be in the show notes. If anyone wants to watch her TED Talk, I don't know. I haven't watched it yet, so I don't know if there's more, or if it's basically, if this was just basically a transcript of what she was saying. But either way, it's there if you want to watch it.
Cool. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. What do we think, guys? Well, Guy, because I think we might have lost Henno for a moment.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I noticed it didn't seem like he was still part of it. So,
are we good?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, for this episode, you guys know what to do. You want to reach out to us? You want to continue the conversation? We'd love to hear from you. Let us know if you have any thoughts or ideas for upcoming shows. If you have a story that you'd like to share with us, and maybe even come on the show and join us for an episode, let us know. Reach out to us. You can reach us by going to the Crazy Life Podcast, or the Crazy Life Pod at Outlook.com is our email address. The crazylifepodcast.weebly.com is our website.
Really quick, the email is crazylifepodcast@outlook.com.
Dang it! I'm like, this doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
All right, the Crazy Life Podcast at Outlook.com. You can reach me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with the G. If you want to hear more from me, you can hear me on Shake the Sheets, which is another podcast that I do. You can get that at shakethesheets.com. And okay, that's it for me. And how about you, Brian?
You can find me on Twitter at Stunami. You can find my other show, Salty Language, at salty_language on Twitter, or at saltylanguage.com. That show is not safe for work. You can find this show on Twitter also at The Crazy Life Pod, where I post when new episodes go up. You can find our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/crazylifepodcast. You can, I'm just going to go ahead, and you can find you can find Henno on Twitter at Ida Henno, or at Henno Heiter on Facebook. You can check out his other podcast, which is called The Orville Lights. I forgot what the address or the Twitter handle for it is. But if you type in Orville Lights on Twitter, you should be able to find it. We're part of the Danger Entertainment Network, which can be found at dangerentertainment.net. And we're also part of Tangentbound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. So please go check out those two. Links are in the show notes. Please share the show with friends. Anyone you know that may get something out of it, especially, if a topic really, hits home or whatever. And if you haven't already, please rate, review, and subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it if you would. And yeah, if you need help, please reach out to somebody. Try not to be alone. There's all sorts of places out there to help you. We've got resources over at our Facebook group on the notes page if you're looking for something, or you can. Everybody seems to know how to use Google, so just jump on Google and find something. But again, try not to be alone if possible. And then, excuse me, geez, my throat's killing me. Also, please reach out to your friends. Make sure, especially if they've gone through a rough time recently, just make sure they're doing okay. Especially the ones that tell you they're, I'm fine all the time, even though they aren't. Talk with them a little bit or whatever too. But also, make sure you check in on other people, especially the ones like you don't hear from, because sometimes that is just them kind of hiding. So yeah. And then last but certainly not least, I ranted for a while about this on Salty Language last night, and let's try to just be kind, on the internet, in person. Just whenever you can practice kindness, please do so. And be nice to other people and yourself. There's just way too much divisiveness and hate. So let's work to fight against some of that.
And I know I'm going to probably get this wrong, but as Hanno always has told us, think about what you're going to say, and does it need to be said? Does it need to be said right now? And does it need to be said by me? Yeah. Just stop and just think it through before you go, especially before you go and type it, and before you go and say something. As we all know, bells can't be unrung. Plates can be put back together, but they're never the same when they're broken. It just, all the analogies in the world for the same thing. Ultimately, once you hurt somebody, there's never making it 100% correct again. So just be very careful and spread the love, not the negativity and all that junk. So go out there and have a great week, everybody.